What's going on, everybody? Your man Eric Wilson live on the Sports Arena on a Wednesday night, man. As always, we got a jam-packed show. We got a special guest in the building with us. He's usually on the sip-off, but he was gracious enough to join us here tonight on the show. So I always want to welcome first our Queen of Hoop in the building, Miss Megan Price, 806 Sports. You know how it is. Megan, didn't we just get done talking?
Absolutely. It was a great day.
It was. It really was. But let me welcome in your special guest. This is our man JJ from the Sip Off. Is he on the carousel as well?
He is on the NBA carousel. Yes, he's our Washington rep.
Okay. All right. Washington Wizards NBA carousel representative. Appreciate you, JJ, for jumping to the show, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. And then last but not least, this brother is late to his own funeral, but he is my man. Mike Caratanudo, Believe in the Pac-12 podcast.
It's not a late funeral. It's a celebration because I just got off the phone with some Sun stuff because they're the first team to clinch a playoff spot. So I just figure I'd mention it now because I know I don't get to mention it later. But
always dropping your team.
They beat down the Heat, and I haven't heard from John Shear yet. So
Mike, congrats to your Sun Devils, man. I appreciate that, man. Let's see what happens. But we got a jam-packed show. Shout out to my man Ray Lynn holding it down for us in the back tonight. But let's get right to it. So, as Ray Lynn said, the dominoes have begun to fall. We are seeing quarterbacks either stay or move on. But the news that came down today was, for me, kind of a head-scratcher. But I guess I'll ask y'all how this came to fruition. Carson Wentz is back in the NFC East. And not with the Giants, not with the Cowboys, and damn sure not back with the Eagles. He was traded to the Washington Commanders. And normally I go to my Queen of Hoops, but JJ, since you are our guest and you are the Washington representative, I guess I got to start with you and ask the question. When you heard the news, what was your thoughts?
Well, I think that the Washington Commanders were like, let me get a guy that knows these rivals. They know them very well, and he's had success against them. And he had a pretty good year last year with a great running game and clutch receivers at the Indianapolis Colts. So I think they said this was a perfect move. We've got a great young receiver in Terry McLaurin who doesn't really get talked about much. And we have a good run game and a solid O-line. So why not bring back a guy that I feel will be able to make some headway into the NFC East. I think this was pretty much about them looking at the options. They knew Russell Wilson was gone. Aaron Rodgers re-signed. They said, let me get the next best available quarterback out there. And so here comes Carson Wentz.
You're calling Carson Wentz the next best option after Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson with regard to quarterbacks who were available. Really?
Correct. And I took a look at this because I was kind of preparing for this today.
Please.
If you look at the games that Carson Wentz has lost over the course of his last 3 or 4 years, there really haven't been too many blowouts. And then the defense has given up almost like 400 or 500 yards in a lot of games that they have lost. And so it doesn't strike me to somebody that doesn't know how to compete and doesn't know how to win a game. Because they're in these games. I could see if he's been blown out every other day. So I think Carson Wentz is a pretty good quarterback out here. I think if you have a good system and you have good playmakers out here, because quarterbacks aren't just good because they have great talent. They have great players around them as well. And so I definitely think that Carson is the best available option outside of Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson.
All right. I can't believe I'm about to spit this out my mouth, but let me go ahead and go to my Cowboy fans who I love and respect and ask both of them, Mike and Megan, please tell me that this was like Ron Rivera and Carson Wentz. Really? We're going to see. We get to now see this twice a year. Carson got to face us. He got to come back to Philly and get his butt handed to him because, the defense is licking their chops. But for Dallas, normally, me. There are 2 teams I cheer for every Sunday, Philly and whoever's playing Dallas. I'm going to be real with y'all. I might actually, for the first time in 45 years, be like, I want Dallas to beat Washington. I'm not even
And you better. That he quit on your team. You better feel like that. You better feel like that. He absolutely quit on your team. Like he was like, either I'm starting or we're having drama. Like even if it's not for the best of the team, so you should feel that way. I don't want him on my team. I'm ecstatic that he's back in the NFC East. We have him figured out. And even though Dak had a rough season, I will say this: there is no more comparison between him and Carson. Zero, none. We know Dak shows up. He's going to take what the coach says and he's going to ride with it. And that's more that you can ask out of Carson Wentz. I'm glad he's back. I love it. What was Washington thinking? Okay. And then on top of that, not like they just like went and got the next available option. I'm sorry, Joseph. They spent $28 million of their cap. They had $33 million available of their cap space, and they spent $28 million on Carson Wentz. $28 million. Yeah.
All I know is Megan's even more bitter because Eric, it's her boy Taylor Heineke, who she had the crush on, who's gonna get bounced now. But I just hope we say I gotta get that clip and just edit it to where you say I'm rooting for the Cowboys, because that's gonna be your ringtone when you call me. I can't, JJ, you should come out more often. I can't believe I heard that. No, but look, I'll say this, like Carson Wentz, and I've said it before to you, Eric. I mean, one of my friends, Sean, I talked to in Dallas at the time, like the Cowboys were. And look, Jerry Jones gets picked on for making ridiculous picks when he has, but he never gets picked on for just dumping too much for maybe moving up and a pick like Wentz. I mean, when they took Dak in the 4th round, they had a pretty decent offer from what I was able to gather to trade up to get Wentz, because they knew they weren't going to get Goff at number 1, and they really like Carson Wentz even more at that time. So look, I mean, he gets blamed for the Jacksonville game, and like I said when we talked about it after the season, he doesn't play any defense. It was that defense's worst game of the season overall. I think is a very good defense. I mean, you got Leonard anchoring it, and they play it at all 3 levels. They play really well. So in my eyes. So I think that they were frustrated with Wentz, but inevitably, I mean, what are you going to cut the whole defense to for one game in Jacksonville? But yeah, he didn't have that like breakout year, because I mean, we talked about Phillip Rivers last year, Eric, and to wrap it up, like it's one of those things. If you're Washington, like he didn't have that kind of year. He had one of the best offensive lines. Depending what they do in free agency and the draft, you're going to a not so good offensive line. Like Megan said, kind of quit on the Eagles, became like that diva in the locker room, and now you go to Washington. Like I mean, I'm all for it, because like you said, twice a year, I'm more worried about the Washington defense. And for Megan, like I said, I'm sad because I know her boyfriend's going to be looking for a new job.
Well,
he's not my boyfriend. I saw hope in him.
Hopefully, Mr. Heineke can become Dak's backup, and then Megan could have the best.
Absolutely, I'll take it.
I would love that.
JJ, I'm going to give you the final word on this, and then we are going to move on. So talk to me. Give me your final words on this whole matchup with now Carson Wentz being the quarterback of the Washington Commanders.
Often it's been documented how he has had, issues with his time at Philadelphia, how he reacted to half of the locker room liking Nick Foles and vice versa. But as I am about 33 years old, I can tell you I'm completely different from what I was when I was 21, 22, or 23, which is where he came from at that time. So if I know that I can develop and get a little bit more mature and start to understand the nuances of my profession, I have to give him the benefit of the doubt to say that he can do the same. Because if he really was that spoiled player or whatever the case may be, we wouldn't have been able to still last as long as he has, because nobody wants to have a quarterback who thinks he's better than what he really is and damaging a locker room. So I'm going to give him a chance to see if he has really grown. And from what I've seen, I think he has matured to a little bit. I think what hurt him in in Philadelphia was half the locker room wanted Nick Foles, and basically just discredit the fact that he had pretty much MVP season before he got hurt. And he got hurt trying to win a game for them by scoring a touchdown. So I think that hurt him, but I think he's grown. So I'm going to see what's going on with that.
Okay. We're going to stick a pin in that and come back.
Maybe he wins the MVP.
all next season. I got a lot to say when it comes to your Washington Commanders. So
It makes
remember,
you
I-
want to chuckle a little bit, right?
Remember, I'm a Ravens fan, but I just live in DC.
that's fine. Fair enough. I'll take that. Fair enough. Let's keep it going here tonight on the Sports Arena with the entire crew. So, Mike, you and I have had this conversation, but I do want to hear from our queen, Miss Megan Price, and also JJ, with regard to Aaron Rodgers. Now, I'm going to be the first to admit it. For the second time, I'm going to say this. I fell for the okie doke. I fell for the banana in the tailpipe. When word had come down of what the contract was, I was like, wow, this is what he's getting, yada, yada, yada. Well, then come to find out, he puts out this long tweet basically stating that the terms of his contract have not been agreed upon, but he has re-signed with the Packers. So, Megan, first to you and then to JJ, and then Mike, I'm sure you and I will chime in at some point. What are your thoughts about this? Because here is the one silver lining that I will say in all of this. Aaron Rodgers did in fact say he was not going to draw out the process as far as making people wait and determining whether he was or was not going to play, whether he was going to stay or go, whether he was going to retire. So he has come out and said, I am playing with the Packers. However, the money aspect of it, that's what we're all waiting on. But Megan, talk to me about that.
I know when the initial details came out, I was really surprised because I felt like Aaron Rodgers was beyond the money aspect of things. I thought that he was done with the Packers. I thought he was done with football in general. Y'all have heard me say that I thought he was going to retire. But if he was going to be anywhere, I thought he'd finish in Green Bay. So at least I got that part of it. But, I just felt like his attitude and his demeanor just showed that he was done with the sport in general this past season. But, I will say that one thing I respect about this process is that he said that he wasn't going to drag it on, and he hasn't. Whereas last season, it was preseason. They had no idea if he was even going to show up or what he was going to do, or if he was just going to refuse to play Ben Simmons. And, at least he didn't do that this season. And so that's one thing. I thought that Aaron Rodgers was going through some real issues this season, not only with his team, but with his fans, the way things came out with whether he was vaccinated or not. He talked around it, and then he was showing his foot in the middle of a press conference after having COVID toe, apparently. All that was going through my mind was this.
Hold on. That's a thing? COVID toe is a thing?
COVID foot, something like that. I mean, that's
I'm just saying.
He put the foot. That's why he showed the foot in the middle of the press conference, and I was just like, this man has lost his mind. I mean, he's an incredibly smart individual, but that was all that was going through my mind as I'm looking at his giant toe on this press conference. So I will say, at least he didn't drag it on and just didn't do a whole lot of semantics. But of course, the details of the contract were wrong. Of course, they were wrong because it's Aaron Rodgers. So that's it.
JJ, give me your thoughts. We're saying Megan Price is out of order. I don't agree with that one. But JJ, talk to me about this, man. Aaron Rodgers now, staying true. So you're taking 30 years of a franchise, having two Hall of Fame, one in Brett Favre, the other one going to be in Aaron Rodgers, quarterbacks who've owned the NFC North, who in the last 3 seasons under Matt LaFleur have gone 13-3. They've given Aaron Rodgers everything, but yet he still is unable to produce a win against the San Francisco 49ers in the postseason and another Super Bowl victory. But he's still there, and they're doing everything to keep him.
2 words, Devontae Adams, because they know if he was leaving, Devontae was leaving as well. And I think a huge part of what they were hoping is that Devontae would stay and work with Jordan Love if Aaron Rodgers was to move on. But I think, they feel like, okay, I know we've had some tough losses against San Francisco. We've had some tough losses in things. But can we honestly say any other team has been in better positions to at least compete and get to points where they can try to get to a Super Bowl? I mean, you have franchises that haven't even had a chance to sniff the playoffs in like 10, 12, 13 years. And yet this team is constantly going to be in the playoffs. You can go to like a multitude of things, but I think when they look at the future, if Devontae had given them any indication that he would re-sign if Aaron Rodgers was leaving, I think they would have let him walk because they wanted Jordan Love to have that top-notch receiver to be with him. But with Devontae thinking he may leave if Aaron was to leave, that's one of the main reasons was like, we got to keep him here because even though it's been bad, we're this close. We are so close to getting to the next level.
Okay. So then, Mike, let me kick it over to you because, we've talked about this ad nauseum. We've talked about this. When you look at the AFC, you start listing top tier quarterbacks. There's a good 6 or 7 of them that we could name off top of the dome. When you flip it over to the NFC, I said this on Monday. When the news broke, I said, there's Aaron Rodgers, there's Matthew Stafford, and then pick your poison. Because the other 14 quarterbacks in the NFC as a conference, and again, no disrespect to Dak, no disrespect to Jimmy G, no disrespect to other quarterbacks, but they aren't like when you look at that team, you live and die by your guy. Okay. So I'm just looking at it like Brady's gone. We know that for a fact. So the NFC South is completely wide open. The NFC East is going to be a bunch of this, that, and the other. The NFC West has the reigning, defending, undisputed champ, so everybody's gunning for them. And then you have the NFC North, which for, like I said, 3 decades has been dominant by the Green Bay Packers and the last 18, 17 seasons because of Aaron Rodgers. So, I mean, is this just going to be simply business as usual for them going into next season? Because granted, they are older and Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Brady was the anomaly, my BFF, and you forgot to mention Kirk Cousins is one of those great quarterbacks, Eric.
Yeah, okay.
No, but well, JJ, first of all, Devontae Adams couldn't have left because they would have franchised him anyway. So he was either going to sit out a whole year and he was not going to sign his franchise tag and sit out a whole year and not play, or he was going to sign the franchise tag. But I get what you're saying. He wouldn't want to play without Aaron Rodgers, so it would have been not good for the Packers. But yeah, I mean, look, for the North, I think Jared Goff can actually – we know he can get to a Super Bowl with coaching and what you have around him if you have a run game. And I'm not even picking on Detroit because I think that, they could. And yeah, for 17 years of Favre and then 18 years of Aaron Rodgers. Well, now this will be year 18. But yeah, like you said, I mean, 3.5 decades now. It's just been, some other teams every now and then sprinkled in. The Bears made that run to the Super Bowl. The Vikings kind of, hung around and been in the playoffs and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it is the Packers to lose. But I mean, can they get over the hump? It's almost and that from a talent standpoint, yes, I would love to have Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback. His body language, as just drives me absolutely insane because it's always somebody else's fault. It's never his when he makes a bad throw or something like that. But I mean, for them to dominate the North, I mean, they can. But to your point, what are they going to do in the playoffs? Like, I'm not saying they can't get over the hump. And you're saying, yeah, Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. Look, we all know what the Niners defense is. And Kyle Shanahan, I mean, Jimmy G, and I know, to quote Ray Lynn, wins and losses shouldn't even be a QB stat because, again, they get judged on it, as we know, but too much credit, too much blame. But Jimmy G just has a winning record. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's been to championship games. Like, the Niners are going to play defense. So if they run into the Niners again, can they get through them? The Cowboys, please Bobby Wagner, please Bobby Wagner, please Bobby Wagner. That's my Beatles. That's my Beatles drink right there.
No.
Because if they do get Bobby Wagner, there you go. If they do get Bobby Wagner, it's one of those things where you're going to have to play defense against Aaron Rodgers, and the Niners prove it. I mean, Eric, you said like that year that even when Kaepernick was there, it's like, are you kidding me? He just ran all over him in the second half. The Super Bowl run, they didn't run the ball once in the second, or pass the ball, as we know, once in the second half. So look, I respect Aaron Rodgers and his talent, and I'm with Megan. Like, but at the same time, like you haven't gotten over. You got rid of Mike McCarthy. Matt LaFleur is proven to be a very solid hire, and you still can't get out of the divisional round. So like, I don't know. Like, it's good for the Packers and that division, like you said, because what's the Bears offense going to be? Like, we all know what the Bears defense can be. Right. And then the Vikings, can hang with them, but your boy Cousins, as much as we like to tease you, like there will be like a flat game. There will be something that's a flat game from Cousins. So yeah, he will dominate the division. Yes, can he get them to the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl on his talent? Sure. But when you're playing better defenses in the playoffs, as we see every year, Eric, it's tough for me. So yeah, good for them. I mean, not dragging it out, because honestly, I wouldn't have talked about him. If it was getting dragged out to training camp, I wouldn't have mentioned his name till they definitely said where it was going.
Fair enough. That's right. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to stay in the NFL, and we're going to talk about the man who did make the move to the Mile High City. More with the crew in just a moment. Welcome back into the Sports Arena live on a Wednesday night. Your man Eric Wilson alongside the entire crew. Let me get them in here. I got Megan Price, Mike Carrot-Tenuto, and our special guest from the NBA Carousel and the Sip Off. JJ's in the building. So, excuse me. And by the way, just as a shameless plug for the Sideline Sports Network family, there will be a new Joining Forces video dropping this weekend. So be on the lookout for that. But let's talk about my second cousin, Russell Wilson, because he got a little closer. He did. He was all the way over there in Seattle, and I know it's on the West Coast, and you're close to Cali, and you're doing everything on there on the left coast, as Mike says. But you came a little closer. You came to Mile High, and now Russell Wilson is a Denver Bronco. JJ, give me your thoughts on this, man.
Great move for Denver. Russell Wilson, and funny thing is, if he wasn't in the NFC, I would have put him in that mix of quarterbacks when you were just going off of Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, things of that nature. Denver has a good team. Now, what's interesting is that they gave up a piece that I think would have been vital to their success, which is Noah Fant. But Russell Wilson, I think people have really believed in his heroics as, with the Seattle Seahawks, being able to come back from so many different deficits, having no offensive line, so to speak, and being able to still be able to be as great as he is. Denver is a team on the rise. Denver is a team that knew that they had to make a move because every other team in the AFC West has been advancing to other levels. Los Angeles Chargers.
It's fine. We all still do it.
I grew up on LT fans, so that's just, how I see it. But Justin Herbert, on his way up to the playoffs. They were one game away from making the playoffs. The Derek Carr Raiders back got into the playoffs. The Kansas City Chiefs into the playoffs. So I think Denver needs to make a move to get to a point to at least have a quarterback that at some point in time, you can have a little luck with that guy to get to the next level, at least get past some of these teams, because they're not exactly that far off from being a very, very competitive team and possible contender. And I think Russell's a good move for them.
All right. I like the way you said contender because, every year we do the whole contender pretender thing. So I'm curious to see how this transfolds. Megan, so what JJ said speaks volumes, and we've talked about it. 6 times a year now, Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos have to face Patrick Mahomes twice, Derek Carr twice, Justin Herbert twice. And you don't have Noah Fant, who I'm very much like you, JJ. He is a guy who was very instrumental. But I said this the other day, and I'm going to say it again. If Courtland Sutton, who I saw at the NFL Combine the year he was drafted, if Courtland Sutton and Russell Wilson can create the connection that Russ had with either Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf, this brother got hands. And he's going to have a breakout year as long as there's that connection. But Megan, talk to me about Russell Wilson playing with this team in this division right now.
I was really shocked by this move, more so than the Aaron Rodgers news, because I felt like with Aaron Rodgers, I knew like either he was going to stay with Green Bay or he was going to retire. I didn't think that he was going to go to Denver, but this news is the one that I was like, is this real life? Is this really happening? Because to me, Russell Wilson was going to die on that hill in Seattle his entire career. That's what I thought he was going to do. And no knock to him, because I love loyalty. That's one of my favorite things in athletes. So, and throughout my life. So, it wasn't a knock to him. I just thought that's where he's at. I don't blame him for making this move. I know Denver is one of those teams that we thought like, Indy, Washington, Denver, they were all basically a quarterback away from being almost a complete team. The Colts more so than anybody else, in my opinion. Russell going to Denver, they still need some weapons. And especially as you were talking about, they let go of their top star tight end. But, they also picked up somebody from Philadelphia that I was a huge fan of, and that's Fulgham. I think that he's going to be instrumental with Russell Wilson and that receiver right there. And I also am a big fan of Sutton, like you brought up. And so I think that they have a couple of pieces for him, but they got to do something else. And as long as they can protect him, because we're not talking about Russell Wilson 5 years ago. We're talking about somebody that's been in the league for a while, and not saying that he's not so extremely talented, because I think he's really talented. Do I think there's some areas where he's overrated on? Yes, because there were times when his defense carried him, but luckily he went to a team where his defense can carry him some more, because if there's anything that was in question about Denver, it was never their defense at this point in this past season. Their defense played well. And then you're going to have your rookie coming back with Patrick Surtain, who was injured this past season. But what we saw out of him was amazing. So we shall see. We shall see. And those that are talking about Russ and his losses last season, he was injured. And take Tyler Heineke off that list. I like Heineke quite a bit.
I think it was just a statement from my man Brian Rathman simply saying that Russ did in fact lose to those three quarterbacks who
he did.
We don't really put them in high regard. And especially that last one, whatever. I know Ray may have something to say. That's fine. I'll be out of order. It's okay. But Mike, there was a comment about Denver now being the third best team in that division. So let me ask you, of the four teams within that division, where would you stack rank Denver as currently constructed?
I mean, yeah, since free agency technically hasn't started, since we're 49 days away from the draft. I mean, with this trade, look, I mean, I'll put him at third.
Okay.
Because you know what? I'll put him in second, because here's why. The Chargers defense let them down the stretch. And that's one thing. And Herbert didn't play bad. The offense, didn't fully click, but there was that defense. And I mean, why am I forgetting the safety's name?
Justin Simmons?
No, from the Chargers.
Oh, Derwin James?
Derwin James. Thank you, JJ. Yeah, Derwin James. So Derwin James went out and the secondary, they made it through. He comes back. But I mean, yeah, as of right now, but with Russell Wilson there, you're going to get guys to come in and play, man. Like, that's not a surprise. And yeah, that division, like we said yesterday, like it went pretty much probably to the best division in football, quarterback wise. And it's crazy to me that yeah. And I know I saw a comment. I mean, Jerry Jeudy too is a phenomenal route runner.
Oh, and listen. They have a squad. Okay,
right.
Let's everybody chiming in and giving us all the names. We do appreciate it, but yeah,
they have a better
know.
Offensive line too. So that's the thing. They have a better offensive line in Denver, and that's the thing that Russ, I mean, he like Megan said, I mean, he was loyal, but last year saying he wanted to be traded, he has a no trade clause. He listed the teams. I thought it would have been crazy if they would have had the draft capital to trade him, and he went to New Orleans last year. But look, him in Denver, I said that like. Once we started talking about it, I said Denver was the best fit for him because I like Teddy Bridgewater. I know I was in the minority there. And when they started out 3-0, 4-0. I think they were 3-0 to start the season. Everybody's like, oh, well, they've played nobody, but Bridgewater didn't turn the ball over. Bridgewater got hurt, and then they started losing games. So, I mean, you can put – I'm not saying they would have won their division in the Super Bowl, but Teddy Bridgewater doesn't turn the ball over and had a heck of a season when he was in. But, I mean, of course it's an upgrade. And right now, sure, they can be the third best division in the team, but without the draft and out free agency, and depending on what the Raiders do too, because, again, those teams, I mean, that literally is probably – I'm going to go out on a limb, Eric. I know this is really thin limb too. That division is going to have the most primetime games, like Monday night, Sunday nights, Thursday night. Well, Thursday night, I know it's trying right, but between Sunday night, Monday night, even Thursday night, like that division is going to have the most primetime games because it's going to be insane. And to be the best, you got to beat the best. And Mahomes is still proving he's the king of the of that division. But with Herbert, now with Wilson, with Carr, it's insane. But good for the Broncos. I mean, look, they have a defense, they have an offensive line. Russ just doesn't have to get hit because we know with time that moon ball is gonna find those guys downfield. We know that.
All right, let me go to JJ, and then I want to give Megan the final word before we transition. So JJ, let me ask this question because again, Sherman in the comments saying that Russ ain't ready for the AFC, but when you look at what Russ has done, he's had one losing season in his entire career.
Right.
Okay. And been to the playoffs, won a Super Bowl, should have won 2, but we're not going to get into that. So honestly, can Russ hold his own against a Steve Spagnuolo Chiefs defense, against a Chargers defense, and against a Raiders defense, in my opinion, led by Max Crosby? Can he do it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the comments are very disrespectful and discrediting the type of player he is because these are the same people that probably gave Matthew Stafford a ton of credit for playing on a bad Detroit team, but yet Russ's numbers are better than Matthew Stafford. I mean, you have to think about it. If you're going to be in a shootout with Patrick Mahomes, who would you want to have on your team? Russell Wilson or Teddy Bridgewater? If you're in a shootout with Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson or Teddy Bridgewater, all these times you're talking about they didn't have a defense in Seattle. Their defense was abysmal. Denver's got a defense. The offensive line couldn't protect him to save his life, so he was making errors and running mistakes because he was being heroic. Here he is on a team with a better offensive line. I'm curious. I think a lot of people are a little bit too hard on him in terms of trying to say he's not this, he's not that. I would take my money and say Russell Wilson. If I didn't have Lamar Jackson on my team and I had to pick a quarterback that was available, I would take Russell Wilson in a heartbeat because I think Russell Wilson is still a top 10 quarterback in this league. And I think a lot of the comments, it just baffles me. I'm just like, what? Y'all are okay. I don't get it. And so I definitely I can say they're the second best team because am I really going to say Derek Carr and the Raiders are better than the Broncos with Russell Wilson? Am I ready to say that? I don't think I am. Am I ready to say those Chargers? I don't think I am.
It's not far-fetched. I mean, they get rid of John Gruden, and as he should have been, and they make the playoffs. And look how Carr, played down the stretch. And even when Darren Waller was out, the offense kind of struggled a teeny bit, but they run the ball. And now with McDaniels coming there and the offense, and you have an established quarterback with Carr. And JJ, I'll say this real quick. Lastly, if Carr wasn't that good, all that news that Eric, like we talked about a while back, Eric, coming out of Pittsburgh, like at the end of the season, like, hey, they might make a push for Carr. They'll make a push for Carr. Like, it's not going to happen. McDaniels is going to keep him. So I think I'm with Tyree on this one, as Eric knows, because I think Derek Carr has had a very, very solid career. And people
I think he's a good quarterback. I just don't think he's better than Russell Wilson. I don't.
Fair enough. Megan, final word, and then we're going to take another break and then transition.
And I think when you talk quarterbacks, you got to remember what we talk about with quarterbacks, and that's tiers. You got top tier in Aaron Rodgers, top tier and Tom Brady, some would say. As far as right below top tier, you have Russ. We're not talking about, and Derek Carr is not far off from that. So saying that he's not ready for the AFC, maybe that's a tough division that he went to. Really, really tough division that he went to. But we have excellent quarterbacks in the NFC as well. And you might say, oh, Dak's not that great. Derek Carr's not that great. But I view them as very similar players. Like they're probably – I got Dak in the top 10. I got Derek Carr right outside the top 10, like 11 or 12. And his numbers support that. He does have an excellent football IQ. So it's not a knock at him. He's not perfect by any means. And I say the same thing about Russ. And in Brian's comments here, because he's a Seahawks fan. So, I appreciate his comments with this. He said that Russ was amazing, but he can't win without an elite defense. He's going to a team with a defense. You talk about the Seahawks defense won that Super Bowl. Well, so did the Broncos defense won that Super Bowl when they had Peyton Manning. And really all they need at this point in time is a game manager. Russ can do that 100%.
Yeah,
All right, fair enough. Let's go take a break. When we come back, we're going to switch over to the NBA, and then we are going to talk college basketball because the madness is getting ready to kick off. So more with Megan, JJ, and Mike here on the Sports Arena on a Wednesday night in just a moment. Welcome back into the Sports Arena. Your man, Eric Wilson, alongside our special guest, JJ, and Mike Garrett, Believe in the Pac-12. And as you see right there on the bottom, make sure you check out the NBA Carousel every Monday night at 8 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook Live. We got jam-packed shows throughout the week. I think from Sunday to Sunday, we got shows from all over, from, the flagship show, Sideline Sports, to the Sports Arena. We got the Sip-Off. We've got the NBA Carousel. We've got the Gauntlet Podcast, the Play Callers blog, Real Player Sports Talk. I mean, it's just top to bottom. So let us get our girl, the queen, back in here. So let's transition to the NBA, because the Memphis Grizzlies, ladies and gentlemen, let me say that again for the people in cheap seats. The Memphis Grizzlies have the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. So, Queen, let me come to you, because talk to me about the impact and the dynamic of having this team in this position at this time. And you're muted.
Sorry about that. I think this is huge for the West. It just shows the competitiveness. I've been talking about Ja Morant all season long, but I think you have to give credit to the rest of his teammates. Desmond Bane, Steven Adams over there has been making an impact as well. They have Jaren Jackson Jr. Like they have some excellent pieces over there, and it's a very well-constructed team, which, Mike, we know Phoenix is really well-constructed. But similarly, I fully believe that Memphis is constructed just as well and well-coached. Even when Ja Morant was out, they're still winning games. But I want to say that some of this is attributed to Golden State. The run that they're having as of lately. They're 3 of 7 of the last 10, and even Memphis is 6 of 4. And so, there's still been a few losses in there. There's still been a couple of shockers, like the Rockets beat the Grizzlies last week. So, there's still a couple of shockers in there, and it's not like they're just this excellent, perfect team, but very well constructed. And I told y'all a few weeks ago, I would be more concerned, or last week, whenever we heard that Booker was going out, I said I was more concerned about Memphis taking the number 2 seed away from Golden State and the implications this is for Golden State compared to Phoenix dropping a few games, because Memphis is still 8 games behind Phoenix. So, and then Golden State is a half game behind Memphis. So, I mean, there's still room right there for Phoenix. And I don't anticipate them really losing the number 1 seed, but I really think that Memphis can maintain this number 2 seed. And this is because of Draymond Green. because we have not seen Draymond Green with the Golden State Warriors in about 3 months now. Every other week, we're hearing, oh, he's close to returning, 7 to 10 days. We should see him soon. And then he continues to have setbacks. Recently, we heard 7 to 10 days. So hoping we see him soon. But we're getting to that point in the season where playoff seeding matters. And while you're in the top 3, that's excellent. But, this is a point in time when you need somebody that plays defense and is that leadership role. And we know Draymond Green is that. So it's concerning to me that we're not seeing that with Golden State right now. But Memphis is that team. Continue to watch them. I've been talking about them all season.
All right. So let me go to JJ and then I will come to Mike on this one. So JJ, if I'm looking at this right now, all right, if the playoffs were to start today, their first round is against Minnesota. I mean, to me, that's a gentleman's sweep in 5, which means Memphis is going to get to the second round of the postseason playing either, like I said, as currently constructed, let's say the top 4 teams make it. They would then have to play Golden State in that second round. So for the sake of argument, let's say that it is Memphis, Golden State in the second round of the playoffs, 7-game series, no Draymond Green. Are you giving Memphis a chance to upset one of arguably the best constructed teams in the NBA currently?
Possibly. I'm not ready to call it over Golden State because that experience is big time and Steph Curry is a dog. And Klay Thompson, after listening to his post-game interview yesterday, the mindset is definitely there. That's another leader by example. I look at this team as like upstart OKC from about 10 years ago, where they make it to the playoffs, but they start progressing every year, but aren't going to get there until maybe like a year or 2 away. I do agree with what Megan said. I think their team is phenomenal. Ja gets the credit and deservedly so, but everyone else is fantastic. And like Jared Jackson Jr. would point a stretch 4 that is one of the best defensive stretch 4s in the game. But I don't know if I'm ready to call it and say that they can beat Golden State in a 7-game series. I could see them taking it to 6 or 7 games, but I just think that championship pedigree and that moment not being too much for them is going to continue to keep them going, because one thing I do know is Steph Curry and Klay, they turn it on in the playoffs. They are not easy to beat, and I think Memphis is maybe a year or 2 away.
Okay. So then, Mike, I'll go to you because you on the left coast and you watch these games probably just as much, if not more, than our queen of hoop, Megan Price, does. So when you look at the dynamic of the Western Conference, looking at where your Phoenix Suns are holding right now an 8-game lead, 8-game lead for that top seed in the Western Conference. But Memphis, like Megan said, the last 10, they're 6-4.
Well, they are, and look, I love what Memphis has done, and no one, and you guys, and JJ or Megan didn't even mention Dylan Brooks because he's still out. So like that's one of the things too. But look, congratulations to the Suns, because now Ray Lynn has to listen to this, because they are the first team to clinch a playoff berth tonight after destroying the Miami Heat tonight in Miami by over 20 points. But now, so it's an 8.5 game lead, Eric, because the standings just got hit. So 8.5 over them, 9 over Golden State. As for Megan's point with Draymond, now everything I've seen, and even Steve Kerr was saying he's supposed to play their game Monday. So I guess he is playing on Monday. That's the plan. And Golden State, Eric, had Jackie Moon show up last night.
Yeah,
Come up.
I did see that.
You know that they're definitely getting ready for the playoffs. I mean, Klay Thompson was taking assists from him, and Jackie Moon was barking out player coach instructions to him. No, but all kidding aside, look, Memphis, I love what Ja's done, and the only reason to me that I mean, he will get MVP consideration, but missing the 12 games, and even though last year Embiid, I thought, probably could have won the MVP when you missed the more games you miss. And again, I think you can miss games and prove you're the MVP too. But Morant missed those 12 games, and I think the team's like 9-2 without him or something like that. 8-3. They have an awesome record. So, and like I said, Dylan Brooks coming back. They have a good team. Steven Adams. I mean, JJ, you talk experience. Adams has been deep into the playoffs, and yes, it is only one player. I get it, but And if you want Western Conference, I mean, related to the Suns, look at when Chris Paul got here and Crowder got here, and you have Devin Booker, who's young and just been like that superstar, that scorer, like it makes a difference. So in the 7-game series, I mean, yeah, I'm going to lean, and I'm not waffling, Eric, like Raylan always says, I'm going to lean to Golden State. But to anybody's point, why would anybody be surprised if, Ja hits that shot? Yeah, his outside shooting needs to get a little bit better, but when you can get to the rack like he does, you don't need to shoot threes because ain't nobody guarding you down low.
True.
That's fair.
True.
I mean, listen, I get what you're saying. It's Memphis. And we've seen this team, come in and have their ability to disrupt teams from time to time. But to think of them at this high of a position, again, at this time, okay? Think of it like this. We are, this was probably game number 66, 65.
Yeah, the Suns just played their 66 tonight.
Okay, so you got
Raylan said Mike still picked 2 teams.
He did. He did.
I did not.
Yes, you did, Mike. I was going to let it go, but Raylan is still going to let you know you did. You found a way to do what you do, Mike.
Golden State will win, but nobody will be shocked.
My one thing I will say to
please,
my man's down there is that I get Steven Adams, but we're talking about people who have been to 5 finals, 5 NBA finals, and not just 1 star player, 3 star players: Draymond, Clay, and Steph Curry. So I get the experience with Steven Adams and who?
And 4 when they had KD.
True, exactly. So it's just, and the thing is, Steven Adams doesn't impact the game in the same way that Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and them do. And so to Ja, I know he's going to get his. But if Steph and Klay catch fire, are you going to be able to keep up with that fire? I don't know.
I don't think anybody can. If you ask me that, hold my feet, no pun intended, to the fire.
Right.
I don't know of another combination. Maybe KD and Kyrie, quite possibly.
Mm-hmm.
But if Steph and Klay just decide to just from 40 just jack up shots all night, I don't know if you can keep up with them. James Tatum chiming in saying the Warriors are not as dangerous as everybody thinks they are. You know what? Let me do this.
Yeah,
Since James Tatum wants to express
talking.
his opinion.
And look, here's the thing: when they went on that 5-game this recent 5-game losing streak, what's everything we heard? Like Draymond's not there. Do you trust them defensively? Nobody's saying Klay and Steph ain't catching fire.
Right.
But if you can't stop anybody and you don't have that defensive presence there, then yeah. But I mean, but yes, Eric, and even though I said the Warriors, but that's okay. But look, they can, if they catch fire, they're very, very tough to beat because Klay, again, getting back into form, his legs, it just looks like second game back, he looked like he was moving good. But even now, like he looks like he's moving a lot better. If he becomes that 2-way defender, that guy you need out on the wing to challenge somebody else's 3-point shooters, of course. But if you have no Draymond for the playoffs, then no.
If I'm Steve Kerr, I don't want Klay playing defense this season. I don't. He's that special. He's that important. He's that good of a defender. I really don't want you playing defense this season. Nope.
All right. Well, I've put the call out to one Mr. James Tatum since he was been actively in the chat this evening. Like I always say, if you want to talk about it, then come on the show and be about it.
Look what Denzel
said. It's Jay Nelson.
Yeah, baby. He knows. He knows.
No, I agree with Denzel. I agree with Jay. I think the Suns look like the best team. I think the Suns look like the team that feels like they should have won last year. So we're going to show you this year I'm coming back.
But you're doing with a, I'll say even depending on when he comes back, you're not doing it with 100% Chris Paul.
Yeah, but he wasn't 100% until the middle of the second round last year. Remember? Because he hurt the shoulder the first game.
All right. I'm looking at that and I'm saying to myself, I love Chris Paul, but I got to see more of it. All right, James, your time is up, my brother. We're going to transition out. You're going to have to jump on next time. But let's move on to college basketball because, like I said, Selection Sunday.
Madness.
The madness is about to begin. So let's talk about this, y'all, because every year I get my bracket wrong, as I'm sure most other people do.
Me too.
But I always have that one team that a lot of people are looking at me and they're saying, why did you pick them? And that team somehow makes their way maybe into the Sweet 16 before they get ousted. Now, the one year I had Florida Gulf Coast University, the 15, and people were like, how did you know? I'm like, well, I live in Florida. I know a little bit about basketball. What can I say? A blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. That's So, Queen, let me ask you, talk to me about what you think this year's March Madness, at least for the men's. We will do a whole segment on the women's at another time, but for tonight, let's start with the men. Give me your thoughts on this.
I personally feel like number 5 Kentucky is a very serious team. They fought from like 15, 16, a little bit of a rough start, and they ended up they're 25-6 now. And they're on a 2-game win streak at the moment. Now, we've seen a lot of these teams that were on long win streaks, and those came to an end over the past weekend, or the weekend before that, because we saw 1 through 6 lose, and then we saw Texas Tech lose all in one weekend. And so that loss moved Texas Tech to number 14, and they are 23-8. I think Texas Tech is another extremely dangerous team to cause probably a serious upset. Now, I don't know if I see them in the Final Four, maybe not quite the Final Four, but I definitely see them in the Elite 8, and I expect to see them to keep somebody from moving forward. And I expect to see it as an upset. Duke, I think they're dangerous, but I don't think they're exactly number 7 dangerous. Like, I think their ranking is a little fraudulent. Earlier on one of your shows, we were talking about how the Titans had a number 1 seed, but it was like they were a fraudulent number 1 seed. And that's kind of how I feel about Duke. I know North Carolina was a rivalry game. Anything can happen in a rivalry game. They showed out on Coach K's final home game. They really did. Now, I'm not saying North Carolina is that good. I'm saying Duke has holes. Kansas, I think they're a serious team as well. I think I expect them to win maybe the Big 12. I don't know. Baylor's still at number 3. They have some injuries to some of their main players, but they can still shoot that ball extremely dangerously. So, and Arizona, nobody's really talking about Arizona at number 2. They're 28-3. We have one friend that's talking about Arizona. Mike, I know it's not Forks Up. I know this is atrocious for you, but they're really good this year. What can you say? They're at the number 2 seed, and nobody's really talking about a whole lot. You're talking about Gonzaga. You're talking about Baylor, and then even Auburn at number 4 with 27-4. I think they're dangerous too. So I think we see 2 number 1 seeds in the Final Four, and I think the rest, I think we see some major upsets. They might even tie for a number of upsets this tournament.
All right, let me go to JJ, our special guest, because, ladies and gentlemen, just want to let you know we are going to go into extra innings overtime after our 1 hour spot here, because I called him out. He said he ain't scared. He want all the smoke. My Philly brother James is in the background. We're going to get him in. But before we get to him, JJ, talk to me about the March Madness, my brother.
I'm excited. I am very excited. This is one of my favorite times, and I never get my bracket right, but I always, for some reason, seem to get one region like almost 100% accurate and correct. I usually start well the first weekend, but without further ado, I honestly think it's Auburn. I think Auburn is the team that's going to win it all, because I think, Bruce Pearl is a great coach. He has the experience of making it to a national title before. The only difference is he didn't have Jabari Smith. And I think Jabari Smith is one of the game's best players in college basketball. And I think he's going to be a difference maker for them to get over to the title game. But I will say it's going to be very intriguing because, of course, Coach K's last ride. How much is this Duke team going to lay it all on the line to have their famed coach, who they have a ton of respect for, who they've come to call like a second father or even grandfather for how old he is? How much is that team going to try to do everything they can to go out on top with him? Do they have holes? Absolutely. But I think for guys like, I look at for NCAA, your best players need to show out. Paolo Banchero, you need to show out. Jabari Smith, I feel like out of all the best players, is the one that's going to show out. And I've got Auburn pretty much winning it all.
All right, Mike, you got about 4 minutes, Mike. I'm going to give you the floor. So you got 4 minutes. Get it out your system, my brother.
Eric, I know, Eric, what do I say is the best thing about being on the left coast? As much as I missed you on the East Coast, you get to watch the early games and you get to watch, quote unquote, your late games for you, not late games for us. The winner of the tournament is coming from the left coast. Last year, who was the best conference in the tournament record-wise? Oh, that would be the Pac-12. But nobody wants to talk about that. Record-wise in the tournament last year, and then they probably would have had one more win each because USC and UCLA had to play in the Elite Eight. But that being said, look, Gonzaga absolutely loaded. Megan, I wore my Sun Devil stuff because I feel dirty with what I'm about to say and what I've said the last 2 weeks. Arizona can win the national title. There is no team.
Wait. Time out. I need to hear that.
It hurts. No, I had to
Mike
talk about
Harris,
Texas
Nudo.
Tech being a good team. I feel you because it's UT until the day I die. So I feel your pain, Mike.
Eric, I said it on Twitter, man.
No. We're not glossing over this. I need Mike Harris-Nudo full screen solo, and I need him to say that again.
That's fine. Coming from an educated Sun Devil fan and alum, knowing that Arizona, with the way they are constructed, can win it. Tommy Lloyd, where did he come from? Oh, he was Mark Few's assistant for like 9 years at Gonzaga. He comes in, he loses a transfer. Old boy went to Baylor, and he leaves Arizona. What does Arizona do? They put together a long team that can shoot like no other. They can run. ASU kept it close the first time. They boated him up and down the court the second time because ASU didn't want to get back and play transition defense. That's just a rivalry game. What Arizona did to USC last week, I'm sorry. Like, that USC doesn't get that done to them. I'm not saying they're the best team in the country, but USC stays competitive. Gonzaga, Arizona, UCLA is third. I'm with you, JJ, on Duke. I think that if they actually just go out and play and don't feel the pressure of, oh, we got to do this for Coach K, if they just play their game, because I think a lot of that, and again, I'm with you, Megan, Carolina beat them. That's fine. But, like, it's a rivalry game, and like Eric always has taught me and said, like, rivalries doesn't matter. Throw the records out the window because the team with no wins will whoop the team with, 10, 20, whatever, 25 wins.
Be more feel for them.
So, yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things. But look, I think Gonzaga wins it, but I'm just saying right now, I respect kind of what Auburn did. I think their conference, I know that Arkansas came on, and look, Auburn has done it. Kentucky, Megan, okay, they're still not better than Gonzaga. And yes, Eric, I do not think they're better than Arizona. I think they're 1 and 2 in the AP for a reason. I know it shifted a lot this year, but Gonzaga started at 1, they end at 1, and to me, I mean, you got a 7-footer that can shoot threes, a 7'1" guy that can shoot threes and probably needs to put on about 30 pounds to start just destroying people.
All the way Zion needs to lose.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, exactly. So look, it's a left coast champion this year on the men's side. We'll get to the women's. I'll have more on that because that was dominated by the Pac-12 last year too.
Fair enough. Hey, I want to say thank you to our special guest, JJ, from the NBA Carousel and the Sip Off, joining us here tonight. Appreciate you. For our Queen of Hoop, Miss Megan Price, Mike Harris-Nudo, Believe in the Pac-12 podcast, man, Eric Wilson. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned because
thank you for having me.
Hey, my brother, it's a pleasure. As he's calling himself the king
guys.
of the
I look
Four
forward
Horsemen,
to coming and checking you guys
wants
out
to
again
have a
next Wednesday.
debate. So I appreciate that. But for all of us at the Sports Arena as part of the Sideline Sports Network family, we'll talk to you soon. See you in a minute. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are in overtime. So let me go ahead and get Mike Harris-Nudo back in here because chiming in the chats while we were doing our show tonight, there was a young man who was talking, and basically this is his statement. He said, the Warriors are not as dangerous as everybody thinks they are. So when you talk about it, you damn sure better be about it. Now, I know, Mike, I hate to tell you this, you're dealing with another Philly guy, but you are my brother. So please let me welcome in from the gauntlet, our man, the king of the Four Horsemen, James Tatum is in the building. Welcome, sir, into the sports arena. How are you?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate you, brother. So I'm actually going to jump off screen and let the two of you just have at it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
We're going to do this carousel style.
Carousel.
So, James, you started this.
Okay.
Defend your position.
Well, I don't think the Warriors are as dangerous as they've been in years past. And I don't think there's this, because in the past, the Warriors have been a team that's been able to basically sleepwalk through the whole season. And then, they just run over everyone in the playoffs. I don't think they can do that. I think that if they don't take teams seriously, a team like Memphis, if they get caught slipping, Memphis can win that series. Just like Memphis, same thing kind of happened last year, play-in tournament. They lose to the Lakers. LeBron hits the game-winning shot. They have to play Memphis. And then Memphis catches them slipping, and they beat them. So I definitely don't think the Warriors are as dangerous as they've been in years past. And Clay is still rusty. Clay does not look like the Clay of old that could drop 37 points in a quarter. He doesn't look like that anymore. And it's to be expected because he hasn't played 2+ years. So
Yeah, but
I
James,
think that Clay is not going to come back until next year because it takes time. It's totally normal. But yeah, if I'm a team like Memphis, I got a lot of confidence in them that if the Warriors get caught slipping.
Hey, Memphis has beat the Suns this year. Memphis has beat the Suns this year. I mean, obviously only 13 losses, but Memphis has beat the Suns. The Suns have beat them. They have beat the Warriors. I mean, you look at the Lakers and you look at what Memphis has done. I mean, I can see that. But my whole thing is that I think Clay, again, it was going to take him a little bit to get his legs back, but I just think the last 2 weeks, I know 2 weeks. I know I'll say 2.5 weeks because I know he missed 1 or 2 games, but just the way that his shot is going up on the catch and shoot, again, he can get hot. To me, it comes down to the defense. But I do think that when you look at their roster, I mean, Wiseman coming back, I could see what you're saying about Clay, but if Wiseman comes back, I don't know how effective he'll be. But Wiggins has had a solid year. Poole has had a very solid year. Payton II for his defense.
They're good.
I mean, believe me, they've gotten better, and it's not like I don't see that point, but when it's always that argument with the NBA that drives me crazy because it's like, oh, this team, they have to learn how to win. Well, then you always hear the other adage like, oh, they're so young, they're so naive, they don't know any better, so who cares? They're just going to go out and play, and if they beat you, they beat you. Well, I mean, look, Ja proved that he doesn't have to shoot the ball outside. I mean, I can't believe it was Memphis's first ever 50-point game. I know, well, lately they grow on trees, but normally 50-point games don't grow on trees. But he puts up 50 and he only took 4 3-pointers. And I think he hit he was 2 for 4. It was 1 for 4, 2 for 4, 1 for 3, something like that. But everything else is he's getting to the lane. You can't stay in front of him. So it's about help side defense. And then to your point, can these guys against Golden State, can those other guys that maybe don't have that experience we were talking about hit those shots? So, I mean, sure, I think they can. I think the only thing that and in the regular season, it's one thing. Every now and then, we always see teams play a home and home. So it's they play back-to-back nights. But in a 7-game series and you're making adjustments, there's going to be a lot of adjustments for a job. But like we were talking about, if Steph's shooting from 30 feet and hitting it and Clay gets in on it too, a healthy Draymond, in a 7-game series, that's when all those just little adjustments help. But do I think, and I mean, you've watched the show, that obviously Raylan and Tyree are Lakers fans, but they were saying, oh, if I'm Memphis, I don't want to play him. Okay, well, I don't think the Lakers are old. I get sick and tired of hearing people in their 30s that keep their bodies in phenomenal shape are old. But that being said, Memphis could run them up and down the court. And if they don't turn it into a half-court game, the Lakers ain't going to hang with them past game 3. If everybody's saying they're old to everybody else's logic, Memphis could run them up and down the court. Do you want to get into a running matchup with Golden State though with those shooters? I mean, that's the balance there. So I'm with you, but I'm a little, I guess, higher on Clay because his first few games back, you could tell and like Megan said, defensively, he doesn't have to overexert too much. They can cheat, they can play zone for a few minutes, whatever they want to do. But I think his legs are getting back. And 30 points in a quarter. We might not see that till next season, but I'm with them. I'm not going to count them out. That's why I said I picked Golden State, but no one can be surprised if Memphis beats them.
Well, I mean, a lot of people are bringing up the fact that the Warriors could get Draymond back, but what if Denver gets Jamal Murray and PJ back? What if they get those guys back? They're also getting hot and playing really good. So I don't think any team that they match up with in the West is going to be a pushover. This isn't a years past. Kevin Durant is not on this team anymore. I think a lot of people forget that. And that was one of the main reasons the Warriors were able to sleepwalk through the season, because they knew nobody could stop all four of these guys. These aren't the same Warrior teams of old. Right. They cannot be caught slipping or they will lose. That's facts.
All right. Fair enough. Like I said, I had to get the brother the opportunity to come in here and chime in. And, it's always good to see another Eagles fan beat up on a Cowboys fan.
Yes,
so
sir.
I love that, by the way.
Wait, Eric, I was actually going to say something nice. Joel Embiid's the MVP. Come on.
I know. But see, now I got backup. So now when Mike and Megan want to run their lips, I'm just going to make a phone call to the king of the four horsemen and say,
oh, no, division champs. It's all right.
Keep me on speed dial.
Oh, I got you,
I'm
brother.
always available to give anybody the work. So
yes,
you know where to find me at.
My man James Tatum. Check him out every Saturday night. The Gauntlet podcast, man, great show. Part of the Sideline Sports Network. Mike, please put that thing away. Just put it away, Mike. Put it away. See, this is what you don't understand. James and I could go into our closet and pull out just droves.
So can I.
Of material, but we choose to keep it professional. But see, you're gonna catch us one of these times, Mike, like you always do, and then we're gonna have to remind you. But shout out to my man James Tatum for chiming in, man. Of course, my man Mike Caratuno, your man Eric Wilson for the Sports Arena. Again, that was overtime for you folks. Much love to everybody. We're gonna talk to y'all next week. Until then, everybody be good, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.